Assalamualaikum. So for our policy paper, it focuses on the improper garbage disposal issue in Kampung Tengah, which is located in Gombak under the jurisdiction of Majlis Perbandaran Selayang. So Kampung Tengah is a peri-urban settlement which is located between the rural and urban areas, which makes Kampung Tengah especially vulnerable to the development pressures. So as urbanization around the area increases, population density and economic activity have grown, which places a strain on the local infrastructure, especially the waste management. So the main problem identified here is the unsystematic disposal of garbage, such as open dumping, informal burning, and also disposal into drains. So these practices have caused environmental degradation, health risks, and also declining living conditions. So this issue is worsened by the lack of a centralized waste collection system and weak monitoring and enforcement, which shows that the improper garbage disposal is not merely an individual issue, but reflects broader governance and political failures, especially the environmental cleanliness is a public good. So next is the political causes of this issue. And so from a political economy perspective, capitalism and consumerism are the key contributors to the garbage disposal issue in Kampung Tengah. Capitalist system prioritize economic growth and also consumption, which encourages disposable lifestyle and excessive packaging, especially the single-use plastics. So as Kampung Tengah is surrounded by the urbanization and commercial activities, rising consumerism has increased the waste production in Kampung Tengah, while waste management services have not expanded accordingly. So this imbalance actually indirectly pushes the residents in Kampung Tengah towards improper disposal practices. And another contributing factor is authoritarian governance structures. And here, authoritarianism does not mean the total absence of consultation, but it means the limited public influence over the decisions such as waste collection schedules, disposal facilities, and also enforcement strategies. So this weakens the community ownership and reduces compliance, which leads residents to adopt cruel practices like open dumping and burning. And lastly, weak regulation and enforcement allow the problem to persist, and although waste management laws exist, inconsistent enforcement and limited monitoring reduce their effectiveness, which enables the improper garbage disposal to continue unchecked in Kampung Tengah.
Moving on to my part, here I will talk about waste management problem in Kampung Tengah Gombak, focusing on local habits, stakeholders and policy gaps. Like many semi-rural areas in Selangor, Kampung Tengah faces increasing waste issues. Household waste is rarely separated or recycled. Malaysia produces about 39,000 tons of waste daily, and most of it goes to landfills. Poor waste management leads to bad smell, blocked drains, flash floods, and health risks like mosquito breeding. In Kampung Tengah, waste is often thrown into open bins without sorting. Some residents burn their trash and leave it outside their homes. Many people see waste disposal as government's job and not their own. The Ministry of Housing and Local Government manages waste through the Solid Waste and Public Cleansing Management Act 2007, also known as Act 672, which promotes the 3R concept: reduce, reuse, and recycle. The local council handles collection and enforcement. NGO raise awareness through cleanups and talks. Private companies collect waste and recycle, but mixed waste makes their job harder and more expensive. Although Malaysia has strong laws, implementation is weak in rural areas. Many places lack recycling bins, monitoring, and strict enforcement. Even with reported recycling rate of 37.9% in 2024, illegal dumping is still common. So, what are the gaps? Facilities for waste separation are limited. Public education is irregular, and enforcement is weak. Even when people care, they struggle to practice waste sorting if it feels confusing or inconvenient. Real change needs cooperation between government and the people. With better education, facilities, and enforcement, Kampung Tengah can move towards cleaner and more sustainable waste practice.
Okay, so for policy options, we propose 3 different policy options to address the improper garbage disposal problem in Kampung Tengah. So each option targets a different dimension of the issue, namely enforcement, infrastructure, as well as community behavior. Okay, the first policy option is strengthening enforcement. So this option focuses on stricter enforcement of existing waste management regulations under the authority of Majlis Pembandaran Selayang or MPS. So this includes increasing monitoring patrols, issuing fines for illegal dumpings, as well as penalizing open burning of waste. So the main goal of this option is to deter the improper waste disposal through legal pressure and a visible presence of authority. However, while this approach reinforces accountability and governance, it has clear limitations. So as discussed earlier, many parts of Kampung Tengah have narrow roads and irregular housing layouts that are inaccessible to large garbage trucks. So enforcing rules without addressing these structural barriers risks unfairly penalizing residents for conditions that beyond of their control. So therefore, enforcement alone may worsen community resentment rather than solve the root of the problem. The second policy option is improving waste collection infrastructure. So this option focuses on service delivery by addressing physical access constraints within the Kampung Tengah. So under this approach, MPS will introduce smaller or compact garbage collection vehicles that are capable of navigating narrow village roads. So this vehicle will allow regular waste collection in areas that are currently underserved. And lastly, for the third policy option is community awareness and behavioral change programs. So this option prioritizes environmental education and community-based initiatives. So through collaborations with NGOs, schools, mosques, and even with the village leaders, MPS can promote proper waste disposal practices, including recycling and collective responsibility. So campaigns, clean-up programs, and even awareness talks aim to shift social norms that currently tolerate improper waste disposal. However, while this option is important for long-term behavioral change, awareness alone is not sufficient. So without reliable and convenient waste collection services, residents may continue improper practices despite increased knowledge. So therefore, this option is necessary but cannot function effectively as a standalone solution.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For the final recommendation, a practical policy should be implemented to address improper garbage disposal in Kampung Tengah. Majlis Pembandaran Selayang MPS should introduce option 2, the small-scale garbage truck that can navigate the village narrow and cluttered roads. According to the local residents, the existing large garbage truck cannot access many areas of Kampung Tengah because the streets are narrow due to improper housing, with house built irregularly, and numerous abandoned vehicles further limiting the space. The physical constraint makes it difficult for large trucks to enter, leading to irregular waste collection and forcing residents to dump garbage in open areas, burn it, or dispose of it in drains. The issue finds it very similar to Japan, where many roads are narrow and inaccessible to standard large trucks. Japanese local authorities often use small maneuverable garbage collection trucks, specifically designed for narrow streets, allowing regular collection even in dense residential areas and supporting efficient waste management in constrained urban and suburban settings. The main advantage of this policy lies in its practicality and responsiveness to local conditions. It directly addresses a structural problem identified by the community without requiring major behavioral changes or complex programs. However, smaller trucks carry less waste per trip, which may increase operational costs due to more frequent trips and fuel use. Despite this, the long-term benefit of cleaner streets, reduced health risks, and greater trust in local authorities outweigh the additional
So today I would
expenses.
like to explain more deeper about the implementation strategy. First of all, for this policy to work in a Kampung Tengah, the way it is implemented is very, very important.
The main strategy is to introduce small-scale garbage trucks that are suitable for a narrow and irregular village route. Current large trucks cannot enter the main area because of the route are too small, the housing layout is irregular, and some parts are blocked by abandoned vehicles. As a result, waste is not collected, reduced for residents to dump waste in open area, burn it, or throw it into drains. By using smaller trucks, MPS can collect waste and make dispose easier for residents and reduce illegal
A
dumping.
similar system is already used in Japan, where many neighborhoods have a narrow routes. They are uses small, flexible trucks. Show that this approach is practical and effective.
So to conclude our analysis, it is clear that the crisis in Kampung Tengah is more than just a logistical failure. It is a symptom of pre-urban growing pains. As my colleague established, while consumption has skyrocketed, the administrative of Selayang Municipal Council has lagged behind. We must recognize that residents are not disposing of waste improperly out of nowhere. They are doing so because of the current system is physically inaccessible. When a large garbage trucks cannot enter narrow, cluttered village roads, the community is left with no choice but to resort to dump or burning it. We are here to bridge the gap. Therefore, our primary recommendation is policy number 2, the introduction of small-scale compact garbage vehicle inspired by Japan's successful municipal waste management. These maneuverable trucks are the missing link for Kampung Tengah. By developing vehicles specifically designed for high-density narrow layout, we remove the structural barrier to cleanliness. This policy doesn't just ask for change in behavior, it provides the means for it. It aligns with Act number 672, ensuring that waste collection is systematic, effective, and most importantly, inclusive for every household regardless of their street. So, the implementation will follow a clear 6-month roadmap led by Selayang Municipal Council. Firstly, mapping and consultation. Instead of a top-down approach, we will work with villages leaders to identify blind spot loophole where the illegal dumping is most frequent. Secondly, the infrastructure. We will lease or acquire compact trucks and place color-coded bins in accessible hubs to support waste segregation at the source. And 3, community engagement. Through most schools, we will launch simple Malay language awareness program, which shifts the paradigm from government responsibility to community ownership. In conclusion, the environmental cleanliness is a public good. By shifting from authoritarian management style to a collaborative, localized model, Kampung Tengah can move from environmental degradations of a model sustainability. Let's turn these challenges into a roadmap for a cleaner, healthier Selangor. Thank you. That's all from us.